The night sky over rural Kansas lit up with a strange, pulsing light. Farmer John Miller stepped out of his house, squinting at the unusual sight. His wife, Sarah, joined him, her mouth open in awe. "What on earth is that, John?" she asked, pointing at the glowing object descending from the sky. John shook his head, unable to answer. They watched as the light grew bigger and brighter. Suddenly, it crashed into the cornfield behind their barn with a loud boom. Without hesitation, John grabbed a flashlight and his old shotgun. "Stay here, Sarah. I'm going to check it out." Sarah nodded, worry etched on her face as she watched her husband disappear into the darkness. John's heart raced as he approached the crash site. The corn was flattened in a wide circle, and in the center lay a small, sleek spacecraft. It looked nothing like any plane or satellite he'd ever seen. As he got closer, a panel on the craft slid open with a hiss. John raised his gun, ready for anything. But what emerged from the ship made him lower his weapon in shock. A small, childlike creature stumbled out. It had blue skin, large, dark eyes, and a head that seemed too big for its body. The alien child looked up at John, fear and pain clear in its expression. John's farmer instincts kicked in. He saw a hurt youngster, not a threat. He knelt down, speaking softly. "It's okay, little fella. I won't hurt you." The alien child took a hesitant step forward, then collapsed. John caught it gently, noticing a nasty wound on its side. "Sarah," he yelled, running back to the house with the alien in his arms. "Call Dr. Thompson. We've got an emergency." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Dr. Thompson arrived, amazed but professional as always. He treated the alien child's wound, muttering about its strange anatomy and advanced healing abilities. By morning, news had spread. Government officials and scientists descended on the Miller farm. The alien child, now awake and alert, seemed to understand English but couldn't speak it. Instead, it communicated through gestures and by drawing pictures. Dr. Emily Chen, a xenobiologist, sat with the child, showing it pictures on a tablet. "It's incredible," she told the gathered officials. "This child's species seems far more advanced than ours. Look at how quickly it's learning." The alien child pointed at a picture of the solar system, then drew a rough map of the galaxy. It pointed to a spot far from Earth, then made a sad face. "I think it's trying to tell us where it's from," Dr. Chen said, "and that it can't go back." As days passed, the world buzzed with the news of the alien visitor. People debated what to do, but most agreed. The child needed protection. The alien showed more of its abilities. It could move small objects without touching them, and seemed to understand complex scientific concepts easily. It also showed a playful side, enjoying games with the Millers' grandchildren who visited the farm. 1 week after the crash, as government leaders met to discuss the situation, a chilling message reached Earth. A transmission, sent from deep space, appeared on screens worldwide. A stern-looking alien, nothing like the child, spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. You have something that belongs to us. Return the child immediately, or face the consequences." The message ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. John and Sarah looked at each other, then at the alien child playing in their living room. The child looked back, its big eyes full of fear. Sarah spoke first, her voice firm. "We can't send it back, John. Whatever happens, we have to protect this child." John nodded, his face set with determination. "You're right, Sarah. Looks like Earth's got a fight on its hands." As night fell, the Millers and their unusual guest watched the stars, wondering what challenges the coming days would bring. The once peaceful Kansas farm had become the starting point of humanity's greatest adventure and its greatest test. The world changed overnight. The Galactic Council's message played on every TV and phone screen. People everywhere talked about aliens, invasion, and what would happen next. At the Miller farm, things were tense. Armed guards now stood outside. Inside, John and Sarah, sat with the alien child, who they had started calling Blue because of its skin color. Dr. Chen arrived, looking tired. "The president wants to speak with Blue," she said. "Can you bring him to the living room?" Blue followed them, holding Sarah's hand tightly. On the big TV screen, the president's face appeared. He looked serious but kind. "Hello, little one," the president said. "We need your help. Can you tell us about the Galactic Council?" Blue nodded. It pointed to the screen, and suddenly, images appeared. Everyone gasped. Somehow, Blue was controlling the TV with its mind. The images showed a huge space station. Alien creatures of all shapes and sizes walked its halls. But some aliens who looked important pushed others around. They looked mean and scary. "Is this the Galactic Council?" Dr. Chen asked. Blue nodded again. Then it showed more images. These were sadder. They showed alien children, like Blue, being taken from their families. The children were put in small rooms and made to do hard work. Sarah started crying. "They're slave labor camps," she said. "They're using children as slaves." The president's face turned angry. "This is unacceptable," he said. "We can't send Blue back to this." Just then, another message from the Galactic Council appeared on the screen. The same stern alien spoke. "Humans, you have not complied. Return the child now, or we will take it by force. You have 24 hours to decide." The message ended. Everyone looked scared. "Mr. President," John said, standing up straight, "we can't give in to bullies, even if they're from space. We have to protect Blue." The president nodded. "I agree, Mr. Miller, but we need to prepare for what might come next." Over the next few hours, the world went crazy. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Armies around the globe got ready for a possible attack. Scientists worked nonstop to understand Blue's technology and abilities. At the Miller farm, Blue seemed to sense the tension. It went to the window and looked up at the sky, pointing. "What is it, Blue?" Sarah asked. Blue made a series of hand gestures. Dr. Chen, who had been studying Blue's communication, translated. "I think Blue is saying there are more ships coming," she said. "A lot more." John put his arm around Sarah. "Looks like we're in for a rough ride," he said. As night fell, people around the world looked up at the stars. For the first time, they knew for sure they weren't alone in the universe. But instead of excitement, they felt fear. In New York, the UN made a decision. The Secretary General went on TV to announce it. After careful consideration, and in light of the evidence of the Galactic Council's cruelty, Earth refuses to hand over the alien child. We call on the Council to respect our decision and to change their unjust practices. We stand ready to defend our planet and our principles. Back at the farm, Blue watched the announcement. It didn't understand all the words, but it felt the meaning. For the first time since crash landing on Earth, Blue smiled. Sarah hugged Blue. "Don't worry," she said. "We'll keep you safe." John nodded, but he looked worried. "I hope we can," he said quietly. As they spoke, a bright light appeared in the sky. It grew larger and brighter. The Galactic Council's ships had arrived. Earth's greatest challenge was about to begin. The world held its breath as the Galactic Council's ships hung in the sky like giant, menacing clouds. In every city, people looked up with fear and wonder. Some prayed, some protested, and some prepared for the worst. At the United Nations in New York, world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense as they debated what to do next. "We cannot give in to their demands," said the U.S. President. "It would go against everything we believe in." The Chinese premier nodded in agreement. "But how can we fight an enemy so advanced? We must find a way to talk to them." As they argued, a scientist burst into the room. "Excuse me," she said, breathless, "but you need to see this." She turned on a large screen. On it was Blue, the alien child, surrounded by Earth's top scientists. Blue was drawing complex diagrams and equations faster than anyone could follow. "The child is teaching us," the scientist explained. "It's showing us technology beyond our wildest dreams. If we can understand it, we might have a chance against the council." The room fell silent. Then, slowly, people began to nod. A plan was forming. Meanwhile, at the Miller farm, John and Sarah watched as military vehicles rolled in. Soldiers set up strange-looking machines around their property. "What's all this?" John asked a nearby officer. "Defense systems, sir," the officer replied. "Based on the alien child's information. We're setting them up all over the world." Suddenly, the sky lit up. A beam of light shot down from one of the council's ships, landing just outside the farm's new defenses. When the light faded, 3 tall, stern-looking aliens stood there. Everyone tensed. Soldiers raised their weapons. But before anyone could act, Blue ran out of the house towards the aliens. "Blue, no," Sarah cried, but John held her back. Blue stopped in front of the aliens and began to make rapid hand gestures. The aliens looked surprised, then angry. One of them stepped forward, reaching for Blue. In that moment, something incredible happened. A shimmering shield appeared around Blue, pushing the alien back. Everyone gasped. Blue had created an energy barrier. The lead alien spoke, its voice booming. "Humans, you dare to turn one of our own against us. This defiance will not stand." The U.S. president, who had just arrived at the farm, stepped forward. "We're not turning anyone against you," he said calmly. "We're protecting a child from cruelty. Something any decent civilization should do." The alien leader's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing of our ways. The galaxy is harsh. Only the strong survive." "Maybe it's time for that to change," the president replied. "We may be new to your galactic community, but we bring with us old wisdom. Compassion makes us stronger, not weaker." For a moment, the aliens looked uncertain. Then, without warning, they vanished in another beam of light. As soon as they were gone, alarms began to blare. The officer from earlier ran up, looking panicked. "Mr. President, we're detecting energy buildups in the council ships. They're preparing to attack." The president's face hardened. He turned to Blue, who looked scared but determined. "I hope those defenses of yours work, little one," he said, "because we're going to need them." All around the world, people braced themselves. In every country, on every continent, humans stood together, united against a common threat. For the first time in history, there were no enemies on Earth. There was only humanity, standing as one. As the first shots from the Galactic Council's ships lit up the sky, Earth's new defenses sprang to life. Shields shimmered into existence over cities. Strange weapons, built from Blue's designs, fired back at the alien ships. The battle for Earth had begun. And against all odds, humanity was fighting back. The sky burned with strange colors as Earth's defenses clashed with the Galactic Council's weapons. In cities around the world, people huddled in shelters, watching the battle unfold on screens. At the International Space Station, astronauts looked down in awe. Commander Lisa Chen radioed to ground control, her voice tense. "It's like nothing we've ever seen. The entire planet is surrounded by energy fields." Suddenly, alarms blared through the station. "We've got company," shouted Flight Engineer Yuri. A massive council ship appeared, heading straight for them. Back on Earth, in a secret underground command center, military leaders from around the world watched helplessly as the council ship approached the space station. "We can't reach them in time," said General Williams, slamming his fist on the table. "Our space defenses aren't ready yet." Just then, Blue, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. The alien child placed a hand on a strange device that Earth scientists had built based on its designs. Blue's eyes glowed, and the device hummed to life. Up in space, Commander Chen gasped as a shimmering bubble appeared around the station, just as the council ship fired. The energy blast bounced off harmlessly. "It's a miracle," Chen whispered. Then she noticed something else. Look, our solar panels. They're absorbing the enemy fire and converting it to power. On Earth, cheers erupted in the command center. Blue had just saved the space station and given them a new weapon against the Council. But the victory was short-lived. Reports started pouring in from around the world. While Earth's major cities were protected, smaller towns and villages were under attack. The Council was targeting Earth's food supply. In Kansas, not far from the Miller farm, John and Sarah watched in horror as alien ships destroyed wheat fields with precision energy beams. "They're trying to starve us out," John realized. Sarah's eyes hardened. "Well, they don't know much about farmers then. We're tougher than they think." All over the rural United States, farmers began to fight back. They used tractors to create barriers, sprayed their crops with protective chemicals Blue had helped develop, and even used old hunting rifles against scout ships that flew too low. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the rice paddies of China, the wheat fields of Ukraine, and the corn farms of Brazil, people defended their lands with a mix of high-tech weapons and simple determination. But the Council's attack was relentless. They targeted power plants, water supplies, and communication centers. Earth's defenses held in many places, but not all. In the command center, world leaders watched grimly as red dots appeared on the global map, showing areas lost to the Council. "We need to evacuate the vulnerable areas," said the Indian Prime Minister. "Bring people to the protected cities." "And then what?" asked the German Chancellor. "We can't feed everyone in the cities forever." As the debate raged, Blue tugged on Dr. Chen's sleeve. The alien child pointed to a complex diagram it had drawn, showing a network of underground tunnels and hidden farms. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she understood. "It's brilliant," she said. "Blue is showing us how to build protected food production facilities. We can use the enemy's energy weapons to power them." Hope returned to the room. They had a plan to survive the Council's attack, but it would take time to implement, time they might not have. Just then, a junior officer burst into the room. "Sir," he said, addressing General Williams, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Council's main ship. It's like nothing we've seen before." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Council was preparing for a knockout blow. As tensions rose, Blue stepped forward again. The alien child's eyes glowed with determination. It was clear that Blue had another plan, perhaps their last hope against the coming storm. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, with humanity and their unexpected alien ally standing as one against the cosmic threat. As the Galactic Council's main ship charged its weapon, Earth held its breath. In the underground command center, all eyes were on Blue. The alien child's eyes glowed brightly as it touched a complex machine covered in blinking lights. Suddenly, holographic screens appeared around the room. They showed detailed maps of the Council's ships, revealing weak points and energy flows. "It's their battle plans," exclaimed Dr. Chen. "Blue is tapping into their network." General Williams leaned forward, his eyes scanning the data. "This is exactly what we need," he said, a smile forming on his usually stern face. "We can use this to launch a counterattack." Within minutes, the command center burst into action. Orders were sent out to military bases around the world. Pilots rushed to their advanced fighters, built with technology Blue had shared. Scientists quickly reprogrammed defense systems based on the new information. Just as the Council's main ship prepared to fire its superweapon, Earth struck first. In orbit, a swarm of small, agile Earth ships appeared as if from nowhere. They were using cloaking technology reverse-engineered from Blue's crashed ship. The Council, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Commander Lisa Chen, leading the space attack from a new Earth battleship, gave the order. "All ships, target the weak points Blue showed us. Fire at will." Beams of energy shot out from Earth's ships, hitting the Council vessels in precise locations. Explosions bloomed in the silence of space as several enemy ships lost power and drifted away. On the ground, things were just as intense. In Kansas, John and Sarah Miller watched in awe as strange-looking aircraft rose from hidden underground hangars in their wheat fields. "I can't believe they built all this right under our noses," John said, shaking his head in amazement. Sarah squeezed his hand. "And to think, it all started with us finding Blue." These new Earth aircraft, piloted by top pilots from around the world, joined the battle in the skies. They moved in ways that seemed to defy physics, outmaneuvering the larger Council ships with ease. In cities across the globe, people cheered as they watched the battle on large screens. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity was winning. But the Council still had tricks up its sleeve. A group of smaller, faster ships broke through Earth's defenses, heading straight for the command center. "They're trying to take out our leadership," General Williams realized. He turned to the world leaders in the room. "We need to evacuate now." As they rushed to leave, Blue suddenly ran to the center of the room. The alien child raised its hands, and a dome of shimmering energy formed around the entire building. Outside, the Council ships fired their weapons, but the energy blasts simply dissipated against Blue's shield. In the command center, everyone stared in awe. Blue turned to them and made a series of hand gestures. Dr. Chen translated, her voice filled with emotion. "Blue says, this is its home now, and it will protect its home." The president stepped forward and knelt beside Blue. "Thank you," he said simply. "You've given us a fighting chance." As the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. Several Council ships suddenly turned their weapons on their own fleet. "What's going on?" asked the Chinese premier, watching the screens in confusion. The answer came moments later when a transmission reached Earth. On the screen appeared an alien that looked similar to Blue, but older. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Zar-El, leader of the resistance against the Galactic Council. Your bravery in protecting one of our children has inspired many within the Council's ranks to rebel. We stand ready to join your fight for freedom." A cheer went up in the command center. The tide of the war had turned. Earth was no longer alone in its stand against the Council's tyranny. As Blue watched the scenes of celebration, a small smile appeared on its face. For the first time, the alien child felt truly at home. The arrival of Zar-El and the resistance changed everything. Earth's forces, once outnumbered and outgunned, now found themselves fighting alongside experienced alien rebels. The battle for Earth had become a galactic revolution. In the command center, Zar-El's hologram stood next to Blue, who looked up at the older alien with a mix of awe and hope. Zar-El spoke to the Earth leaders, his voice filled with determination. "The Council has oppressed countless species across the galaxy. Your stand against them has ignited a spark of rebellion that cannot be extinguished." The president nodded, his face serious. "We're grateful for your help, but how do we turn this spark into a fire that can burn down the Council's regime?" Zar-El smiled. "With this," he said, and a complex 3D map of the galaxy appeared in the air. The location of every Council stronghold, every slave camp, and every resistance cell. Together, we can coordinate a galaxy-wide assault. As the leaders planned their next move, John and Sarah Miller found themselves in an unexpected role. Their farm had become a key base for Earth's new alien allies. Resistance ships landed in their fields, and strange alien technology mixed with tractors and harvesters. Sarah watched as John helped an alien mechanic repair a spacecraft engine. "You know," she said with a laugh, "when I married a farmer, I didn't expect to become part of an intergalactic war effort." John grinned. "Life's full of surprises. Speaking of which, look who's coming." Blue was walking towards them, followed by a group of alien children who had been rescued from Council slave camps. The children looked around in wonder at the green fields and open sky. Blue made a series of gestures, which Sarah had learned to understand. "You want to show them how to plant seeds?" she asked. Blue nodded enthusiastically. As the alien children learned about Earth farming, reports came in from across the galaxy. The coordinated attack was working. Council strongholds were falling one by one. But the Council wasn't going down without a fight. They launched a desperate attack on Earth's moon base, hoping to cut off humanity's new foothold in space. Commander Lisa Chen found herself leading the moon's defense. Her ship danced through lunar orbit, dodging enemy fire and coordinating with resistance vessels. "We can't let them take the base," she shouted over the comm. "It's our gateway to the stars." Just when it seemed the moon base would fall, a fleet of ships appeared from behind the moon. They were unlike anything seen before, a perfect blend of Earth and alien technology. "This is Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Earth Resistance Joint Fleet," a voice announced. "Let's show the Council what happens when you mess with Earth and its allies." The battle turned in an instant. The new ships moved with impossible speed and grace, their weapons cutting through Council defenses like they were paper. Back on Earth, in the Kansas Command Center, Blue watched the battle unfold on the holographic displays. The alien child's eyes were wide with a mix of emotions, sadness for the violence, but hope for the future. Dr. Chen knelt beside Blue. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. Blue nodded, then made a series of gestures. Dr. Chen translated for the others. "Blue says that this is more than a battle for Earth. It's a fight for every child, every person, every being who has suffered under the Council's cruelty. It's a fight for freedom across the galaxy." The president stepped forward, his voice firm. "Then let's make sure we win it. Not just for us, but for everyone out there who needs hope." As if in response to his words, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. More and more planets were rising up against the Council. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now fighting side by side. The galaxy was changing, and at the heart of it all was a small blue alien child who had crashed on a Kansas farm and found a family among the stars. The final battle was approaching. The fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The final battle for the galaxy began in the space around Saturn. The ringed planet became the backdrop for the largest space battle in Earth's history. The combined fleets of Earth and the Resistance faced off against the remaining Galactic Council Armada. On the bridge of the flagship Unity, a joint human-alien vessel, stood an unlikely group of leaders. The U.S. President, Zar-El, Commander Lisa Chen, and Blue, who had grown a bit taller since the war began. "This is it," the president said, looking at the massive Council mothership on the view screen. "Everything we've fought for comes down to this moment." Zar-El nodded. "The Council's power is concentrated in that ship. If we can take it out, their whole system will crumble." Blue stepped forward, its eyes glowing with determination. The alien child had become a symbol of hope for both humans and aliens. It made a series of gestures, which Commander Chen translated. "Blue says it can get us past their defenses," Chen explained. "But it'll need to be on the front lines to do it." The president looked concerned. "It's too dangerous. Blue's just a child." But Blue stood firm, making more gestures. Chen translated again, her voice filled with emotion. "Blue says, I'm not just a child anymore. I'm a child of Earth, of the Resistance, of the galaxy. This is my fight too." After a moment of silence, the president nodded. "All right, let's end this war." The battle that followed was like nothing ever seen before. Ships danced between Saturn's rings, using the ice and rock as cover. Beams of energy lit up space, and explosions bloomed in silence. At the heart of it all was the Unity, with Blue standing at its bow. As they approached the Council mothership, Blue raised its hands. A shimmering field appeared around the Unity, deflecting enemy fire. "Now's our chance," Commander Chen shouted. "All ships, focus fire on the mothership's main reactor." Every allied ship unleashed its weapons. The Council mothership's shields buckled under the assault. But just as victory seemed within reach, the Council revealed its final desperate plan. The mothership began to glow, its reactor going critical. Zar-El's eyes widened in horror. "They're going to self-destruct. The explosion will destroy everything in this system." Panic spread through the Allied fleet. But once again, Blue stepped forward. The alien child's entire body was glowing now, channeling energy no one understood. With a gesture, Blue created a massive energy field around the Council mothership. As the ship exploded, the field contained the blast, protecting Saturn and the Allied fleet. When the light faded, the Council mothership was gone. In its place floated Blue, unconscious but alive. As cheers erupted throughout the fleet, the Miller family watched from their farm in Kansas. The battle had been broadcast across Earth and to every free world in the galaxy. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. "Our little Blue did it," she said softly. John put his arm around her, too choked up to speak. In the days that followed, the galaxy saw changes it had never imagined. The Council's regime crumbled, and a new galactic alliance formed in its place. Earth, once an unknown backwater planet, now stood as a leader in this new order. Blue, hailed as a hero across the stars, chose to return to the Miller farm to recover. As the alien child rested, leaders from 100 worlds came to the small Kansas farm to pay their respects and discuss the future. 1 month after the final battle, a ceremony was held in New York City. Representatives from every Earth nation and hundreds of alien worlds gathered to sign the new Galactic Constitution. As the President of Earth, a new position created for this new era, stepped up to sign, he gestured to Blue to join him. The alien child, now a bridge between worlds, placed its hand on the document next to the President's signature. The President spoke, his words broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. "Today, we begin a new chapter not just for Earth, but for all free peoples of the galaxy. We've learned that our strength lies not in our differences, but in our unity." And it took a child, a lost, brave, incredible child, to teach us that lesson. Blue looked out at the cheering crowds, a mix of humans and aliens all celebrating together. For the first time, the galaxy felt truly at peace. As the sun set on this historic day, Blue returned to the Miller farm. Sarah and John were waiting with open arms. "Welcome home, Blue," Sarah said, hugging the alien child tight. Blue looked up at the stars, once so distant and frightening, now full of friends and possibilities. With a smile, Blue realized that home wasn't just this farm, or Earth, or any one place. Home was the entire galaxy. And thanks to the bravery of one small alien child and the compassion of humanity, it was now free.